I'm Alan Weiss, and this is The Writing on the Wall. Hello again. Welcome to Writing on the Wall. This is episode 32, The American Aristocracy. Hence, I have a sword. Now, it's not exactly the kind of sword I'd hoped for. It's a Japanese sword. In fact, it's, well, it's royal anyway. It's a samurai sword, but you get my drift. Oh, sorry, buddy. I told you not to sit there. We gape at the British. We talk about their aristocracy, but we're really no better. At least they admit it, but we have our own aristocracy. Our new Treasury Secretary, at least at the time I'm filming this, Mr. Gaithner, didn't pay all his taxes. A lot of people would be in trouble for that, but here he is confirmed because he was the only one for the job. As of this filming, 4 other appointments by President Obama had tax problems. And they all got thrown out. They didn't make it. Now, I'm sure President Obama was absolutely sincere about wanting a transparent government and honesty and all this kind of stuff. And I know he made his best effort. At least I feel he did. But here you have 5 appointees out of how many already not paying taxes. We have our own royalty. John Thane, who finally got thrown out of Merrill Lynch, not only authorized hundreds of millions of dollars in bonuses just before the end of the year last year, after the bailouts were announced, but he also spent $2 million redecorating his office. What is he thinking of? He's thinking he's above it all. We talk about government transparency, but perhaps we're too transparent. About 10 or 12 years ago, I wrote this book. I don't promote my stuff here, but this is appropriate. It was a decade old, but it's Our Emperors Have No Clothes. And what I was talking about is the fact that, like the fairy tale, like the great moral story, we seldom hold people to the standards that we hold everyone else to. It's because we have an aristocracy. Let me ask you a question. My books are called $1 Million Consulting. I believe in entrepreneurial success. But does anyone really need $100 million in salary to run a publicly held corporation? You mean we can't get somebody for, $50 million to run it, or maybe even $20 million? I bet we could. I know a lot of people who would try. Why was Bernie Madoff out on bail after what he pulled, the greatest Ponzi scheme in history, and he's out on bail? Who authorized that? They found tens of millions of dollars in checks on his desk. He was going to send to family members. He just didn't have time to mail, couldn't get the stamps on them because the FBI was in the place. There he is out on bail in his $8 million penthouse. American aristocracy. The oil executives, in a brilliant move, flew to D.C. for their hearings, for their bailout hearings in their private jets. Jay Leno had a great line about this. He said, well, they learned their lesson, and they're going back to Detroit in a fuel-efficient car. Unfortunately, to do that, they had to buy one from the Japanese. Caroline Kennedy, a great example of American aristocracy. She didn't bother to vote in the general elections, by her own admission. Had never been to upstate New York, wanted to be senator from New York, or at least appointed. Didn't even bother to prepare for the media, you know? She's a nice woman, does good public work. Qualified to be a senator? You'll have to convince me why and how. We had 8 years of Bill Clinton in office. We might have in the future another 4 or 8 years of Hillary Clinton in office. We had 8 years of President Bush in office, preceded by 4 years before Bill Clinton of another Bush in office. I understand right now that Joe Biden is grooming his son to take his Senate seat. There is an American aristocracy. It seems there's a claim to certain public positions because of one's name. The average net worth in the Senate is millions of dollars. The average senator has millions of dollars of net worth. What does that say? They call it the most exclusive private club in the world. I wouldn't be proud of that. We all seek royal privilege. We want the fast pass at Disneyland. We want to get to the front of the line. We want an American Express card that goes from green to gold to platinum to that unicorn black. We want upgrades to first class. Everybody wants privilege. But come on. If we have an aristocracy, we ought to call it that. And we ought to stop fooling around. Koufax, call out the household cavalry. We'll get out of here. You know something? At least he's a purebred. Koufax, come on, Koufax. Let's go, Koufax. Come on, Koufax. Good boy.